The Adventures of Elliot the worst thing to happen this year? Like, what the hell is this? Like, I remember I had this pre-ordered, right? I remembered I was like, somewhat interested in it. It was a mana-like RPG, not a Zelda-like game. This is very specifically meant to be a spiritual successor to Secret of Mana, not The Legend of Zelda. So this was a mana-like game coming from Square Enix, coming from the HD 2D guys. And I was looking at this and I was kind of like, I don't know. Looks like it could be interesting. Love HD 2D games. I've had a lot of great experiences with them in the past. However, I could not get over like some of the things I was seeing in the gameplay footage. Like, for example, like the slow pacing, the visuals, like the voice acting, and especially the title of the game, The Adventures of Elliot. I don't know how you make a title that sounds more generic than Triangle Strategy, but they somehow did it. And I don't know why they keep doing this, why they keep taking some of the more innovative, interesting games out of Square Enix and like giving them the most generic titles imaginable. But like, yeah, The Adventures of Elliot. Like, it was just an embarrassing title to begin with. And I think every time the game came out, like people were like laughing at it, like, fucking really? Like, Elliot? Like, what kind of name is that, bro? Like, it's just like, who wants to play as like Elliot? It's just like, and I just, it just couldn't get out of my head. Like, I played the demo, finished the first one, and then they released a second one, which I did not finish. I did not play. And then I decided, like, on stream, I was looking for something to play, and I was just like, oh, okay, we'll go through this Elliot demo, see what it's like. I was not prepared for how bad this game is, because what you end up getting is a very poorly constructed ARPG plot where you're some guy living in some city who goes out to like fight monsters and do stuff. It's like unbelievably generic of a setup to begin with, but the issue is that characters do not shut up. You go around the map talking to people and get into these really long conversations where nothing's really said. And then inevitably the princess gives you some like communication device. So she's just like yapping in your ear about everything that's going on. Like, she's basically what people said Miles McKenzie was in Metroid Prime 4, where like you walk past an enemy and she's just like, you can attack that. There's an enemy. Like, oh man, are you going to fight it? Oh man, it's coming for you. Like, use the X button to attack. Like, she's there telling you the most patently like obvious shit like imaginable. Like, I remember like going into a room and like there's a switch and something to weigh down the switch. And so like I instantly go and I move the thing to like weigh down the switch. And she goes like, after I'm done with the puzzle, like, I think that's a switch. If only we had something that could weigh it down. And I was just like, oh, like, it's just so bad. And then I went out and fought a boss, and it was like the most basic bitch boss imaginable. It was just some like giant robot with a giant sword. And the princess just goes like, oh man, that sword, it's really big. Oh, like, I'm just like, like I'm playing this game and like, I don't feel any investment in what's going on. I don't care about the setting, the story, the characters. And yet they just keep like hashing out the most boring, uninspired, trivial horseshit. Like, I'm not a big fan of Secret of Mana either. It's actually on my list of like most overrated Super Nintendo games. But like, I think Mana did a lot more with these kind of cliches than this did, right? Because it has some cool imagery. It has some recognizable music, right? It has like, it's one of the, I think it's one of the earliest examples, I think, of that like old cliche of getting driven out from your home village because of something you did, right? Like, you look at like games like Secret of Mana, games like Final Fantasy Adventure, and like they come off as a lot more inspired than this. They come off as if they had a lot more passion put into them. They come off as if they actually have something they want to like impress upon you. Like, with a lot of these like modern or lower budget Square Enix games, it really feels as if the game is not finished. Like it really feels as if they don't put the time and the effort to really flesh out the setting and the world to make it interesting. Like Elliot is unbelievably generic. Just like Octopath 2, just like so many of these other games, right? Like so many of these games are coming out and they just feel half baked. They don't have a whole lot going on. Like they really feel as if like they're just there to like satisfy some internal like quota at like Square Enix. Like, okay, we got to put out like non-Final Fantasy projects so our investors can see that they don't sell, basically. So we can like justify putting more resources into Final Fantasy. That's really how it like comes off to me. Like looking at this, like I don't understand why these games feel so consistently unfinished, because there are things to like about them. I think there is like room on the market for another action RPG, because I've always felt like we don't get enough of them, right? Like Square doesn't really have their own action RPG franchise. So they really theoretically could have like done a lot to do something with this, to make it interesting, to make it stick out, to make it like, a unique take on the mana formula. But like, I don't even understand why they had to make it like its own thing. Like, if you're just gonna rip off mana anyway, and you own the IP, why not just make it like an actual mana successor? Like, I really don't understand the mentality. Like with Octopath Traveler, it made sense because it had its own vibe and it had its own personality. But with this, like, there's not really that much different, I think, between this and like the mana formula. Like I just don't understand like why this had to be its own thing instead of like an actual officially licensed like mana project. Like honestly, after the success of Live Alive, like it might have made more sense to like redo Secret of Mana in this style, or Final Fantasy Adventure, or like some of these older games that I think a lot of Western audiences aren't too familiar with. Because like when I played them, I felt that they were kind of dated, but maybe like a modern like remake would do it for them. I think Trials of Mana, the remake of the third game, was actually pretty popular and successful. So like that's something they could have done. That is absolutely something they could have done. But instead they made this like incredibly sloppy new IP that doesn't make any sense. That just like feels as if it only exists to make HD 2D look bad. And that's just been my impression for a lot of these projects, is that like for some reason there's this massive hate boner for the HD 2D thing, and people like just keep spurging out about it. And I have to wonder if like that's something that like extends to like Square Enix executives as well, because I can't imagine that they would I can't think of any other reason why they would keep commissioning these games, but keep ensuring that they're as shitty as possible. This game sucks. And I'm very glad that I didn't spend money on it, and I saw the red flags and canceled it like ahead of time, but like canceled my pre-order. But like I I really don't understand why this keeps happening, and like why people are just kind of overlooking it, because this is a real problem in the scene where we keep seeing these bad, like low budget RPGs get produced, and then they just get kind of ignored. And then it's just like, wait a minute, those are resources that could have gone to something way better than this. Like, why is this getting made if it has no audience, if no one cares about it, if no one's going to play it? Like, why even bother? From what I understand, this game has been a massive bomb. So I'm definitely happy to see that. If nothing else, because like the title was just that fucking stupid. But like, we really do need to talk about this. Like, Square Enix really does have a problem with producing RPGs that nobody actually wants to play. And it's something that we do need to address and that we do need to deal with. Like, honestly, I'm not going to be happy until games like this have zero players. Like, this is something that should not have been made under any circumstances.